Well, if you love Texas so much, why don't you just move there, you stupid head?
You know, you make a very excellent point, potentially fictitious disembodied YouTube comment.
Boogie back to Texas. Boogie back to Texas. Boogie back to Texas. Boogie back to Texas. Boogie back to Texas.
Dallas? I don't want you going to Dallas at all. That place is crawling with crackheads and debutantes, and half of them play for the Cowboys.
Boogie back to Texas. 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 Boogie back to Texas.
Wait, that's an Asleep at the Wheel song, isn't it? That's copywritten, right?
Boogie back to Texas. 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 Boogie back to Texas.
What happened? Wait, where are you going?
There he is! The Pac Man.
You mean Pac Man?
The demon of 1,000 stomachs. They say his domain of torture is an inky black and blue labyrinth where the souls of the damned are trapped inside. There he eats them over and over again for all eternity.
That's probably the most morbid description of Pac Man I've ever heard. God, stop that.
But it's not just him, it's his wife, his 2 children, even his college professor. We cannot go outside. He will eat us alive.
Okay, how do we keep him from getting inside?
Oh, you should be safe in here.
How do you know that?
Oh, it's quite simple, really. Because we have an apartment. Pac-Man only ever uses back doors.
But we do have a balcony.
What are you getting at?
So don't we technically have a back door?
Boogie back to Texas. Boogie back to Texas. We're gonna boogie back to Texas.
Alright, think, Pasta, think. What can I do? What can I do? Hey, Pac-Man! If I review these 3 games, will you stop trying to eat my roommate?
Yes, I would very much like for you to review these 3 games, Mr. Lime Pasta, sir.
I feel as if Namco had no idea what to do with Pac Man after the first game. I mean, after the first Pac Man, they really did nothing but make spin-offs and clones of the original. I mean, really look at Pac Man, Miss Pac Man, Junior Pac Man, and Baby Pac Man side by side. Yeah, they have minor differences, but is there really anything conceptually different here? Then they made Pac Man 2, The New Adventures, which may be one of the most confusing business decisions in gaming history. At least Pac in Time made some modicum of sense. They were trying to jump on the 2D platformer craze with an already recognizable IP. Pac Man 2 was just... Iwatani-sama, who made you do this? Then came the 3D age. A whole new axis to work with. It was an age of experimentation and the unknown. The transition from 2D to 3D was a lot easier on some franchises than others. But what of Pac Man? How do you translate this into this? Well, you don't. You make a 3D platformer instead.
A Pac-Man platformer, huh? A Pac-former. Now, the big question here is whether Pac-Man transitions well into a 3D space or not. I guess we're just gonna have to find out for ourselves. So, let's start off with the very first, Pac-Man World. Let's dive right in, shall we?
So we start off this game with some notable FMV. Yeah, not gonna lie, this FMV looks kinda ugly. But for what it's worth, the voice acting is hilarious.
I wanted gold streamers and red balloons. The DJ stinks, the banners are crooked, and the cake should be chocolate.
If I had a power
A
pellet,
slight error on our part. Believe me, it won't happen again.
Oh, here I am. Love me.
That never gets old. Anyways, as Pac Man is walking to his 20th birthday party, a mysterious force comes and kidnaps all his family and friends, including Puka from Dig Dug. Puka from Dig Dug. We get it, Namco. You also made Dig Dug.
Which is really confusing when you think about it, because, I mean, do all Bandai Namco games take place in the same universe? And if they do, how does Smash 4 work into this? Because Pac Man's in Smash 4, and Puka's also a trophy in Smash 4, and it's, feels as if there's a joke in here somewhere, but no. There's no joke.
Oh wait, what about this joke? Ooh, or this joke. 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 Not this joke.
Well, what's wrong with this joke?
Because it's stupid.
This game's controls are a little stiff, but by no means bad. You have a few different forms of attack. You can do a Mario-style ground pound if you jump twice. You have a charge attack called a rev roll. And you can also shoot lasers. Can someone please tell me what is up with Namco's obsession with trying to make Pac Man shoot lasers? With what does Pac Man shoot lasers? His orange boxing gloves? Master Chief, he has the Spartan laser, plus all those Covenant guns. He can shoot lasers, definitely. Samus and Mega Man? They have a cannon literally strapped to their arm. Lasers? Checks out. Pac Man has a black hole for a stomach and orange boxing gloves. Tell me how you can produce colorful weaponized photons with orange boxing gloves. What if Mario shot lasers? What if Mr. Rogers shot lasers? What if I shot lasers? How would you guys feel if I shot lasers?
Actually, that would be really badass.
Hey man, I was thinking, since I paid the utilities the past 2 months, do you think you could pay the internet and the utilities this month?
Why isn't this working?
What the hell was that?
I was trying to shoot a laser at your face.
How dare you?
The graphics are bright and colorful, bosses are creative and fun, if a little gimmicky at times, and each world feels distinct and thematic. And everything has that PS1 aesthetic to it. You know the feeling, it's a kind of similar feeling to the first Spyro game, or Croc 1, or Crash 2. It's kinda hard to put in words, but something about the graphics and the music in tandem give these 4 games a very similar feel. I do have one big complaint about this game. It is a 3D platformer, but it's not exactly like a 3D platformer in the way Super Mario 64 is, which makes it more of a 2.5D platformer like Klonoa. But the problem is, you're not really on a set path. You go left and right, of course, but you still have control over where you are in the Z-axis. But the level design doesn't really let you go back and forth, only side to side. So really, having any Z-axis at all is super pointless. Because of this, the gameplay becomes really stale after a while. Which is a shame, because I think a better use of the Z-axis would have spiced up gameplay quite a bit. But hey, what do you do? Overall, Pac Man World is a funny, charming, colorful game with gameplay that leaves a lot to be desired. But still a decent game. Also, you can play regular Pac Man in the bonus stages, which is gonna be a feature for all 3 games. So that's a thing, I guess.
Before we move on to the next game, let's see how this one ends. Alright, so you beat Evil Robot Pac Man, and then what happens next?
It's so unfair. You ruined everything.
Poor guy just wanted some attention. Now with a big, uncomfortably open mouth like that, how could you not forgive him, Pac Man? Pac-Man, you just straight up murdered that guy! Is that how you hide the bodies of your victims? By eating them? Okay, let's move on to the next game. Oh, I cannot get over that!
Okay, so while the FMV cutscenes were a lot funnier last time, the opening cutscene of this is less terrifying in the animation department. So we get introduced to the 4 ghosts and their personalities as they take part in slapstick shenanigans around Pac-Man's neighborhood. So the plot of this game is that the 4 ghosts have taken these golden fruit they're just kept unprotected in the middle of Pac-Man's neighborhood, so that they can destroy all of Pac-kind. Wow, what a plot.
At last, I am free from the confines of this accursed prison. You there, take these golden fruit that imprisoned me and follow me if you want to get rid of these Pac-Men forever!
It's 2017, Spooky. You can't call them that anymore. They prefer to be called people of the pack.
So right off the bat, this game feels more like an actual 3D platformer than World 1 felt. Each level, while still making you go in a single direction, is a lot more open and builds its level design around the movements of Pac-Man. Speaking of which, major improvement on controls. Pac-Man feels loose, yet tight. Like a Buddhist proverb that only monks are supposed to be able to figure out. He moves like butter but can stop on a dime. Also, no lasers in this game, meaning you can only attack with your rev roll, ground pound, and a new kick move that you can only do in the air. But that's okay, because literally the entire game is built around that. The graphics in this game are super colorful, and the music really fits the tone of the levels. There's even a little bit more variety in gameplay as well. You have both swimming levels and ice skating levels, which, if I might add, are really fun. Bosses are a little bland once you figure out their pattern, and literally 3 of the bosses are just clones of each other. But fighting Spooky is a really nice challenge. The main thing lacking here is the plot. Like I said earlier, there's the golden fruit, but it also involves knights and golden armor, or something, and a tree. I don't know, and it was super forgettable. Overall, Pac Man World 2 is a much needed improvement on gameplay and controls over World 1, but is a little bit more kid-friendly and doesn't quite have as much plot or humor, which was a huge plus from the previous game.
Well, I guess we might as well see how this game ends.
I knew he couldn't take Pac Man. Did he say that we'd free him again? Uh-oh. Let's get out of here.
Oh my god, Pal actually murders them! Like, I'm not joking this time. Pal actually murders them. I know in the last game, ooh, haha, Pac-Man eats the ghost like he does in the game, and it's just his eyes, real funny. Ooh, haha, he murders them. No, Pac-Man's dog straight up murdered the ghost this time. You see a body part dragged back to Pac-Man. Jesus Christ. Okay, just move on to the next game. Well, actually, funny enough, I'm pretty excited for this next game. Despite all the, homicide, the previous two games were really bright and colorful. I can't wait to see what joyous vibes this game gives me. Oh. This is different.
Okay, level with me, game. What happened to Pac Man? Did he finally atone for his sins for killing those ghosts? Is Pac Man dead?
Well, this is a drastic change in tone. And not just the menu, I mean the whole game. Everything about this game is a total departure from the previous two games, almost to the point of losing its identity. The music and atmosphere is less fun and bouncy. The colors delve way more into the muted gray sections and don't pop as much. The plot takes itself a little bit more seriously, and the level design and gameplay are way more complex. It is quite a change from the previous two installments. Is this a bad thing? I say no. In fact, I think that this game is the best game of the three, but it is a very, very different game than the other two. Let's just start off with the opening cutscene.
Junior! 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 Junior, you didn't happen to see the... Oh, thanks, Snooky. Happen to see any sign of the birthday boy?
Did someone say cake?
Man after my own heart, that Pac-Man. Man after my own heart.
If you like the humor in the first game, then oh boy, are you in for a ride. First off, there's voice acting throughout the whole game, which fills in a lot of voids and is very well done. Second, they make the banter in this game really enjoyable. Like, some of the things that they say here are legitimately funny. Third,
Martin Sherman as snarky Pac-Man. Now, I know 12 years ago when this game came out, people were not happy with Pac-Man talking, but I mean, come on, just listen to this guy. He's hilarious. Freaking nails this role. Just every time Pac-Man opens his mouth, I just want to say, "Oh, Pac-Man, you're such an asshole."
The way the levels are designed are a little bit more open. When solving puzzles, you can find yourself traversing back and forth before moving forward, as opposed to the previous two games. This changes the way the camera behaves a bit, which almost adds a 3D brawler-esque camera to it. Which is one of the reasons why the controls had to adapt too. This time around, Pac-Man's movement is a little bit more snappy, not quite as fluid. Also, Pac-Man can actually punch now, which actually makes it a 3D brawler element. People also really disliked this when the game first came out, but I say it's kinda necessary. You see, Pac-Man World 2's gameplay was more akin to that of Crash Bandicoot, in that you run forward and try to dodge enemies as obstacles. And since it really isn't combat focused, it really doesn't make sense to have a bunch of different ways to fight. But Pac-Man World 3 has made such departure from the style of that level design, the enemies don't stand there to be obstacles, they actually attack you. If you took out the punching from World 3, combat would boil down to mashing one button over and over again. And let's be honest with ourselves, punching is a more effective use for orange boxing gloves than lasers. Really, Pac-Man World 3 is a testament to how much a domino effect changing one aspect of the game can cause. Making a world more open means a different camera setup. A different camera setup means that there's a more open concept level design with more room. More room means you need to fill the level with more enemies. Filling the level with more enemies means that they actually have to do something besides just stand there. Enemies that actually attack you means you need better combat. The list goes on. So overall, Pac Man World 3 is a more robust game than both Pac Man World 1 and 2, but it does sacrifice the tone and overall identity of the franchise.
So I guess I'll sit through the ending of this one. Let's see where Pac-Man's bloodlust takes him this time.
An insane little man with unresolved issues attacked the spectral realm. But he fell into a beam of raw power, so he won't be doing that again soon.
Aw, beams of raw power are cute.
Oh. Okay, I gotta be honest, I expected every single one of Pac-Man's family to just gang up and just kill the ghosts. But this one doesn't end in murder. Let's try the cutscene before that one. Oh, there it is! So there you have it. The Pac-Man World Trilogy. You know, for a mascot who was originally just a slice of pizza chasing ghosts in a maze, trying to transition into the early 2000s where 3D platformers were a dime a dozen, I'd say good job, Namco. You managed to create something really unique.
The Pac Man World Trilogy is a really solid entry into the platformer genre. No, the games aren't perfect, but each is really fun in their own right, and their flaws really don't detract from the experience that much. Pac Man World 1 is a simple sort of 2.5D platformer that's humorous and amusing in some parts, but does have pretty stale gameplay. Pac Man World 2 is a bright and colorful game with great controls, fantastic gameplay, but falls really short in the story area. Pac Man World 3 has the most fleshed out plot and gameplay, but isn't as colorful and sacrifices a lot of what makes Pac Man World Pac Man World.
So in conclusion, I give Pac Man World 1 the most charming out of 10, Pac Man World 2 most fun out of 10, and Pac Man World 3 the best of the 3, though it's way different from the previous 2. Out of 10. Yeah, it should be good enough. Alright, did he stop trying to eat you?
Yeah, but he's chewing on something.
What? Hey, that's my laptop! Give it back!
Come on! Give it here, Pac-Man!
You know, I think poor Pac-Man is finally starting to show his age.
Pac-Man was really the first true mascot of the gaming industry. He came out 3 years before Mario Jumpman Mario would challenge and ultimately take that title. Gaming has come a long way since then, and what's expected out of a franchise mascot now is way more than it was in 1980. Attempts to make Pac-Man relevant now have been more or less hit and miss. Could Namco have made him withstand the test of time like Mario and Sonic if they'd played their cards right? I think it was possible. I think they were on the right track with Pac-Man World 3, making all the characters have unique personalities and having the world fleshed out a little bit. And of course, making Pac-Man the biggest smartass known to man. I think they could have ran with that and put Pac-Man back into the forefront of gaming. Maybe he could have been alongside Sly Cooper, Ratchet & Clank, or Kratos in the early 2000s wave of gaming mascots. But that never really happened. All they have really put out since then is rehashes of the old formula, with of course the exception of Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, which from what I've gathered wasn't received all that well. So what is Bandai Namco to do? Kill off Pac-Man? Well, not exactly. See, Pac-Man is in a weird limbo right now as far as general audiences are concerned. If you were to show someone off the street this symbol, they would immediately think, oh, okay, Pac-Man, video games, 80s, I'm familiar with this concept. But I would say almost none of those same people that you would ask would go out and buy the new Pac-Man game. So, do we have to wait until he's gone from public consciousness for him to go the way of Alex Kidd? Will there ever be a Pac Renaissance? Only time can tell, I guess.
Hey, buddy, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to...
You know what? No, you know what you're gonna do, Pac-Man? You're gonna go out there and you're going to make the greatest Pac-Man game ever to exist. You know what you're gonna do? You're gonna make a game that's gonna blow every other game out of the water. Now go, Pac-Man, go! The Pac Renaissance is nigh! Yeah.
Do you think he'll be able to do it?
With that kind of motivation, I bet he can do anything.
Oh yeah. Also, there's Pac-Man World Rally. I guess you can include this in the Pac-Man World series. It includes all the characters from all 3 Pac-Man World games, but it's a racing game, so it really doesn't fit in here. So maybe I'll review that. I'll review it for a different time.